Are you planning your European getaway? You'd best steer clear of trotting after your favourite glossy Instagrammer. Unless, that is, you fancy spending your holiday queuing for hours to watch a sunset. Or dodging locals who are so utterly fed up with you that they're literally building a wall to block your perfect shot. Or being escorted away from natural wonders that have been roped off to protect them from the trampling feet of travellers who are, well, exactly like you. The European destinations flooding your social media feeds aren't dreamy escapes. They're over-tourism nightmares where your presence is about as welcome as a mosquito at a nudist colony. And those serene, people-free shots of crystal-clear waters and empty, ancient streets. Pure fiction, manufactured through ungodly wake-up calls, strategic cropping, and the liberal use of the delete button. This is Don't Even Go There, and today we're exposing Europe's most Instagram-ruined destinations, what they really look like, and why you should absolutely strike them from your travel plans. Consider this your anti-travel guide. While influencers influence you toward these spots, I'm here to de-influence you right back out of them. Let's start with the worst offenders of 2025. Number 1. Lake Como, Italy. According to the algorithm, Lake Como is a playground of elegant villas, peaceful promenades, and chance encounters with George Clooney. Instagram feeds overflow with influencers lounging on private boats, cocktails in hand, against the backdrop of those dreamy Alps. The brutal reality? Over 1.4 million visitors annually descending on towns never designed for such numbers. Ferry queues that stretch beyond sight. Literal mountains of rubbish left by day trippers who contribute next to nothing to the local economy. Como's mayor, who probably didn't envision waste management as his primary responsibility, is now considering a Venice-style entry fee for visitors. Local tourism leaders complain that we no longer have enough square metres for all the tourists, with overcrowded buses leaving people stranded and boats unable to load everyone. But the real tragedy, as one resident put it, our children will never be able to buy an apartment in their hometown. Property prices have skyrocketed as houses flip to short-term rentals and Airbnbs. Some lakeside communities have lost 40% of their population in 2 decades as locals are priced out of their own paradise. Also, visitors can recreate that one shot of the lake from the exact same terrace that's appeared in thousands of identical posts. Number 2. Santorini, Greece. Ah, Santorini, the crown jewel of influencer fantasies. Those infinity pools overlooking the caldera, seemingly yours alone. Those perfect sunsets where you and your significant other appear to be the only humans appreciating nature's majesty. Those flowing dresses against pristine white walls. Not another soul in sight. The reality is that Santorini receives 3.4 million tourists annually on an island with a permanent population of just 20,000. That's 170 tourists for every local resident. At those famous sunset spots in Oya, tourists must stake out positions hours in advance, standing shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of others. Those romantic caldera views, shared with up to 17,000 cruise ship passengers who flood the narrow streets on peak days. Santorini's mayor has called over-tourism an existential threat, noting that if the landscape and character are destroyed, you destroy the very reason people come here in the first place. The island now houses 80,000 hotel beds, among the densest concentrations in Greece, and roughly 20% is covered in concrete. As one local hotelier admitted, our standards of living have gone down. Santorini risks turning into a monster. The island stands at a crossroads. Continue as a theme park version of itself or try to preserve what made it special before Instagram discovered it. Number 3. Cappadocia, Turkey. According to social media, Cappadocia offers magical solitary hot air balloon rides over fairy chimneys, followed by breakfast on an empty cave hotel terrace amid dozens of colourful balloons in the sky. Influencers commonly showcase images of themselves in flowing dresses on a balloon basket at sunrise, suggesting a tranquil, almost exclusive experience. The sky over Cappadocia now hosts over 3,000 tourists taking balloon flights on a typical morning. Those famous hotel rooftops with Turkish rugs and breakfast spreads must be reserved at 5 a.m. and are shared with many other travellers seeking the same photo op. UNESCO has warned that mass tourism and development pressures are threatening these delicate rock formations, accelerating erosion and damage to ancient cave churches that can never be replaced. The soft volcanic terrain is literally being worn away by too many tourists climbing on structures that took millennia to form. As one commentator noted, there is nothing magical or educational about going to another country to take the same selfie as everyone else. This critique perfectly captures how influencer-driven tourism reduces complex destinations to identical backdrops. Number 4. Iceland. To scroll through Iceland's hashtags is to believe you'll commune with untouched nature. Solitary moments with waterfalls, empty hot springs, and pristine landscapes that belong to you alone. That famous blue lagoon? Apparently you can have it all to yourself if you believe the carefully framed shots. Iceland, with its population of just 376,000, now hosts over 2.2 million visitors annually. The Blue Lagoon requires timed reservations months in advance, and even in shoulder season it's described as very crowded, large groups of tourists and travellers who drink too much beer and get rowdy. One honest reviewer noted, "The Instagram famous beauty of the Blue Lagoon is often achieved by editing, removing crowds, and enhancing the blue water in photos." Most visitors should expect 30 to 60-minute waits at check-in and sharing the lagoon with hundreds of others. The Prime Minister has pushed for tourist taxes to fund environmental protection, acknowledging that visitors seeking wild nature obviously create a pressure on the land. The famous Fjadraglufur Canyon was closed after being trampled by post-Instagram crowds, and rangers repeatedly rope off eroded areas where tourists stray off paths for better photos. Tour guides sometimes joke that the hardest part of photographing the northern lights in Iceland is cropping out all the other tripod photographers standing nearby. Number 5. Hallstatt, Austria. Social media would have you believe Hallstatt is a secluded fairy tale alpine village where you can wander cobblestone streets alone, capturing perfect reflections in a tranquil lake. It's portrayed as the real-life inspiration for Disney's Frozen Kingdom, untouched by the modern world. This tiny village of 700 residents now receives over 1 million tourists annually. On peak days, up to 10,000 visitors flood Hallstatt, leaving residents feeling like actors in a theme park, being gawked at by tour groups. The mayor, in a moment of desperation, erected a wooden fence to block the most popular panoramic photo viewpoint, a physical barrier to underscore how fed up locals were with relentless crowds treating their village like a backdrop. "Nobody can handle the masses," he told reporters. "Hallstatt is too small for the many people who come." In summer 2023, about 100 villagers staged a protest, physically blocking the tunnel road into Hallstatt to call attention to the overcrowding. This direct action effectively cut off access for a time, a dramatic plea for relief from residents who just want to be left alone. Normal community routines, like children walking to school or locals chatting in the square, have become nearly impossible amid the tourist throngs. What was once a living, breathing village risks becoming merely a life-sized diorama for social media content. The gap between influencer portrayal and reality isn't accidental, it's fundamental to the business model. A recent survey found that nearly 60% of social media users have felt deceived by a travel blogger's advice at least once. The tactics are numerous and calculated. Want an empty shot of a famous landmark? Wake up at 4 a.m, crowds in your frame, clever cropping or Photoshop, colours not vivid enough, filters and saturation adjustments, hundreds of people at the viewpoint. Simply wait for those precious few seconds when people briefly move out of frame. What's portrayed as spontaneous travel joy is often a carefully orchestrated production, sometimes taking hours to capture the perfect shot that erases all evidence of other humans. It's not documentation, it's fabrication. And in the end, there's something deeply empty about travelling thousands of miles solely to recreate someone else's photo rather than creating your own authentic experience. As travel becomes increasingly performative, done for the content rather than the experience, destinations become mere backdrops, locals become inconveniences, and other tourists become unwanted photobombers in our carefully curated narratives. These Instagram hotspots have been loved to death, sacrificed on the altar of social media engagement, trampled by the very feet of those who claim to adore them. The algorithm has become tourism's most powerful force, herding us like designer-clad sheep from one photogenic backdrop to another, all while the soul of these places quietly suffocates beneath the weight of our collective validation seeking. What influencers won't tell you is that the truly remarkable travel experiences in 2025 aren't found where everyone's pointing their camera. They're in the places no one's bothered to make famous yet. This has been "don't even go there." And remember, while the masses are queuing for that perfect selfie spot, the real Europe, the one with actual locals, authentic experiences, and room to breathe, is hiding in plain sight, just beyond the frame of the latest viral post.